Today we're going to learn how to create a shape tween. A shape tween means that you are drawing something using a shape. So let's go ahead and on layer 1, let's get fill and stroke. So for today's demonstration, no stroke, so we have the null, and then we'll go ahead and fill with a green color. So I'm going to grab my oval tool, and I want just the top one, oval, and I'll come over here and I'm going to place an oval on the left hand side of my stage. I need to select this first, so I'm going to come over here and grab my selection tool, click on it, and I'll drag a selection around it. In other words, I'm dragging and drawing and selecting it. Now you can see all the little dots. And then I'm going to use my arrow keys just to move it over there on the left. Now, if you'll notice, there's a black dot on frame 1. On frame 1, then, that means I've created a keyframe automatically. So when you draw something, it automatically will be put on frame 1. Now, we want our oval, our circle, to move all the way to the right-hand side of the screen. So the next step is, well, where do you want to place another keyframe? Because a shape tween is 2 keyframes. In other words, a shape tween is 2 dots. So if I click on my properties panel, I have 24 frames per second. That means any movement is going to be 24 seconds. 24 frames per second. So that would mean if I ended up here on frame 24, it would take 1 second for my ball to move across. Now, I want my animation to run for 2 seconds. So that means the entire thing will run until frame 48. So I want the ball to come to the right-hand side and then go back to the left-hand side. And I'm saying that whole occurrence is going to take 2 seconds. So on frame 24, I will click into frame 24, right click and choose Insert Keyframe. When I do that, I see that there's another dot on frame 24. So I have 2 keyframes, a dot here and a dot here, a black dot. So what that means is I know on frame 1 I'm starting over here on the left. Now I click into frame 24. So on the new keyframe, you must move your shape to where you want to see it next. Well, we want to see it over here. So I'm dragging to move it over here. And I'm going to let go. Now, if I move my playhead back to frame 1, press the Enter key on the keyboard, you can see where it's, yes, in frame 1 it stayed there, and then once it got to frame 24, it moved over to the right. So, how do we get it to look more like a shape tween, or, where it's just a faster animation? Because we haven't made the shape tween yet. We've done the first 2 parts. Keyframe, in the first place we want the oval to be seen at. Another keyframe where we want the oval to be seen next. In between the 2 dots, right click, create shape tween. I play it, I hit enter, and of course it's moving from left to right. Now, I want my ball to go back to the left, and so since I said my animation would run for 2 seconds, that means there's 1 second here. My second second will be at frame 48. So I'm going to click into frame 48. I will right click and choose Insert Keyframe. Now, once again, I have a dot here and a dot here. That's 2 keyframes. So that's what you need for a shape tween. Now, I see if I click into frame 24, this is where my oval is. I want it to go back here, and when do you want it to go back there? At frame 48. So what I need to do is click into frame 48, click into that new keyframe, and drag it back over to the left-hand side. So now let's just check it out. I'm at frame 24. It should be over there on the right-hand side, right? I click into frame 24. I click into frame 48 and it should go back to the left, which it does. Now, what we need to do, we've got a dot here and a dot here, basically a keyframe in 24, a keyframe in 48, and I will right-click in the middle, because I haven't created the shape tween yet until I do, create shape tween. So, that means at frame 24, it goes over to, it's at the right-hand side, and now it goes over to the left-hand side. So let's drag our playhead back to frame 1, press the Enter key on our keyboard, and it's doing exactly what I asked it to do. That is a shape tween. So once again, a shape tween has 2 keyframes. You must make 2 keyframes. And then you right-click in the middle, create shape tween. You know you've made a correct shape tween because there is the olive green color and you see arrow. If you don't see an arrow and you see broken dots, that means there is something wrong with your shape tween and it is not correct.